Now we're heading to South Africa to follow up on the story concerning the Democratic Alliance. And joining me to discuss this further is political analyst and the director of the think tank Rivonia Circle, Tessa Dooms. Tessa, welcome to NC Continental Prime. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So when we look at what the Democratic Alliance's leader has said in his victory speech, declaring the Economic Freedom Fighters party leader, Julius Malema, as public enemy #1, what do you make of that? These are two opposition parties that now seem to be facing themselves rather than the main opposition, African National Congress.
Well, it would be slightly unfair to say that the EFF have, declared war against the DA. It's really the other way around. And the DA strategy here is quite strange. I mean, the strategy is strange in itself, but the tone is problematic. The way in which a DA leader who is a white leader of a party that is seen as a white party that serves the interest of white people, with a history like ours in South Africa, to go after two parties that are led by Black leaders, by Black leadership, and that serve the majority of a Black electorate in a way that is fear-mongering and tries to, position the EFF particularly as some sort of, end-time party that's going to come after everyone, is really problematic for the DA and signals that the DA is going towards a very desperate tone and a tone that evokes fear rather than one that shows a party that has a plan and evokes hope.
And you mentioned, of course, him being the leader of what seems to be quite a white party in a country dominated by Black people. Let's go to that, because that's been one of the criticisms that the DA has faced for a number of years now. And heading into 2024, it continues to lack seeing Black people at the helm of affairs or Black people in the party's top positions, but wants to lead a country of Black people. In a way, I think we would say what the young people of today say, make it make sense. How does this possibly affect the DA going into the 2024 elections?
Certainly, out of the DA's top 10 leaders that they elected this weekend, 7 of them are white. And I think that really speaks volumes to the trust of the DA's rank and file, who are not only white people, in fairness to the DA, but the trust in Black leadership is incredibly low if we look at that outcome of that result. Because on the one hand, the DA, in every speech, and John Steenhuisen's speech on Sunday, I think it was, speak about, the race dynamics in the country, having different races of people in the country, but then declare that they are non-racial, and by non-racial, they mean that they don't see color, and so everything is on merit. The problem with the kinds of outcomes you see in their leadership is that they don't seem to find that there are many Black people in this country that is overwhelmingly not white. That they can trust with leading their organization, number one, and the country on the other hand. And I think that we as a country have not gotten to the point where we've had very realistic conversations about the fact that apartheid in many ways lingers on in our society. It lingers on in structural racism, in the ways in which the economy is still skewed towards white populations, in the ways in which the majority of people who are poor are Black. And we have to still continue to confront those issues. We have to confront the ideas around what it means to be Black in South Africa still being treated as an inferiority. And I think the DA has tried to avoid that issue in many ways, but have also just held on to what I think is an old culture. And that culture leans towards the power and the authority of, unfortunately, a white elite.
So the DA's leader was speaking about this ANC EFF alliance, and he said that it's no longer about politics, but about the survival of the democracy, and then the survival of South Africa as well. This alliance seems interesting to me because we've often seen the EFF take on the ANC in terms of corruption issues, state capture, so many issues that the EFF has taken the leading party on. What do you make of this alliance? Is it as tenuous or as strong, rather, as the DA is making out, or where is it even coming from?
Well, it's coming from the EFF and the ANC recently working together in some of the big cities to form coalitions that have unseated DA mayors. And that's where the big idea around a potential EFF-ANC coalition in 2024 comes from. I think that everything else is speculation and conjecture. There are, many rumors, political rumors about, the stance that Julius Malema takes towards particular ANC leaders and all of that. But everything else is really conjecture. And the only thing that they can say is that the EFF and the ANC have worked together. But I think that what's more interesting is the positing of this idea that an EFF-ANC coalition is a given, and I don't think it is. And I think even the DA is in fighting with the EFF or saying that the EFF is the problem, is still positioning itself so that the ANC could still choose it in terms of the DA as its opposition or as its coalition partner, rather than an opposition coalition forming. And I think that was the unspoken undertone of what John Steenhuisen was saying by pointing out that the EFF is the problem. I think that the DA is still then keeping the door open for the ANC to say if the ANC chose it as a coalition partner, that would be okay. And I think given the fact that the ANC has been the party in government as the country has gone into decline, I think that's an irony that shows that the DA is really more interested in governing than it is the ethics that it portrayed in that very fiery speech on Sunday.
All right, Tessa Dooms, thank you so much for joining me. Political analyst and director of the think tank Riviona Circle. It's just the week or the following week after this particularly party election. So we know in the next few days, there'll still be a few more things. And we're expecting some kind of response from the EFF as well. Tessa, thank you.
Thank you.